Oh.
We're good? Producer Joe, thank you, Producer Joe. All right. So I get a lot of questions on YouTube, and this is a question I just got yesterday. And it says, why does my back pain get worse when I'm sitting? Some people get it standing, some people get it lying down. This one's about sitting. And as many of you know, I had a pretty severe back problem, and I had it for 10 years. And I had a severely degenerated disc. This is my MRI. But I had back pain seated. And we have developed this process truly as a result of everything that I went through. And this has been, it happened in 1988. So it's been 31 years in the evolution, but we've established a 10-step process. I know this is about why does my back pain hurt when I sit, but step number one, part of our process, and this is important because the more you know about your back, the more likely you are to eliminate it and have it never come back, because there is a way to do that. So you really have to know your spine and know what causes the pain in your spine. That's the key. So the more you know, the better your life. There you go. Typical spine looks like this. Head is here, hips are here. In between the head and the hips, there are 24 vertebrae. The vertebrae are the bones, one bone on top of the other. In between each bone, there is a disc. And the disc allows for motion, but also the disc allows for enough room for a nerve to exit directly off of the spinal cord. Spinal cord runs down through the inside of the spine. The spine is designed to protect the spinal cord. Now here's the key. The spine, a normal functioning healthy spine, will have three curves. It'll curve in, it'll curve back out, it'll curve back in. Okay? This is called lordosis, this is called kyphosis, this is called lordosis. Now in that position, and that's probably not the greatest curve right here, but in that position, the spine functions best. You want it as straight as you can get it from the front, and you want these three curves. And they're very important for the functioning of your spine. When the spine is in the most stable position, the stresses are distributed evenly on the disc. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute, but what happens sometimes is your posture changes. You may be more arched forward, leaning forward, and then you may even be bent off to one side with a little bit of a curvature. But the further from the normal position, the more problems you have. And the reason you have those problems is because the disc under excessive load will start to break down. So the disc in between the vertebrae is right here. And this is the disc. The disc is like a jelly donut. It's like a jelly donut in the sense that the outside of the disc, there's a thick material. Inside the disc, there's a jelly-like substance. So it's like a jelly donut. Thick material, jelly substance. Now, a healthy nucleus, which is the center portion, gives stability to the disc the same way air gives stability to your tire. But when your spine is in the most stable position, straight, three curves, when it's in that position, the disc functions best. In those positions, the center of gravity goes right through the middle of the nucleus, and it'll distribute stresses evenly in all directions of the annulus. Center of gravity, stresses distributed evenly. That's how it's designed. That is what the disc does. You want equal pressure in all directions. It's like a tire. It's like a tire on your car. Okay? But what happens? Well, sometimes when you're seated, you slouch. Yes, that is me on my laptop. But when you slouch, what happens is the spine does this. So the seated position forces you slightly into flexion. And when you're slightly in flexion in the seated position, what happens? Well, the load of the nucleus, or the load through the center of the spine, changes. And what it does is it starts to force the disc out. And when the disc is forced out, what happens is you start to aggravate the annulus, the outer portion. And the annulus starts to get weaker from all that pressure because there's more load on one part of the disc. It's not distributed evenly. So that load causes inflammation, and we know that causes pain. I'm going to do another video about the inflammation. But over time, is that nucleus will start to push through the annulus. The cartilage will start to tear. And as the cartilage starts to tear, what happens is the disc starts to push out. So when you're in the seated position and you start to have pain, you develop a bulging disc. The disc will start to bulge as a result of the seated position for too long. And the more it tears the annulus, the worse it gets. Starts with a bulge, but can progress to a herniation, which then can progress to an extrusion. But what happens is that tear, the nucleus starts to go through the tear. So the seated position, very often when you have the pain, it's because the disc is bulging. We treat bulging discs. We treat herniated discs. We treat more discs that are bulged and herniated than anybody else. Here's a massive herniation, okay? We have tips. This is important because people think, oh, the tips, I want something active. Okay, the tips are very, 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 very important. Step 3 of our 10-step process. Step 2 is identifying what's causing the pain. For you, it would be seated, but other people are different. But step 3 is increase your awareness, okay? There is a tip for how to sit. Although there are subtle changes that you have to make depending on what your problem is. But if you're seated and you have back pain, the tips are really good for you. Because the tips are designed to keep you in neutral. You want your spine in neutral. When it's not in neutral, then you start to have a problem. So we have the top 10 tips. I'm going to put it, I think it's going to be a button right here for the top 10 tips. I'll put it there at the beginning of the video, but it should be right around here, I think. So that's what it looks like. I mean, that's not what it looks like. This is one of the tips, is really how to rest your back. Okay, this is good for some, not good for others. But we do have tips, very important tips for the seated position. I've done videos on that in the past. I want you to like our page. I want you to like our YouTube channel. I want you to like everything, a lot. I want you to subscribe. We have the ability to change back pain treatment forever and eliminate it. Okay? Sitting, as we know, causes back pain. Why? Because it overloads the disc. Share this information. I want you to comment. If you have any questions, concerns, I will answer them. I try to answer them every day. If you'd like to come see us, you can call this phone number right here, 844-577-7329. Again, click up here for the tips. Excuse me, that's it. I'm done. Sun's out. I'm leaving. Have a good day. Be careful. God bless. Amen.